What's up? I'm Tim Charron. I teach singers and bands how to book great gigs and explode your music career. So what I'm doing is I'm going through a little mini series now of what I learned from so-and-so. So just want to kick back and tell you guys and girls some stories about some people that I've gotten to work with, whether it's through music or other things. And some of my students, I was telling the stories to, and they were like, you've got to put this out and put it out on the podcast. So I'm going to start with someone who I worked with, not in a musical capacity, but back in the day when I was a personal trainer. I had just moved to Miami Beach, and I was working at a gym called Crunch and some other gyms, and got hooked up with this chiropractor that hired out personal trainers and massage therapists and stuff like that for different bands and national tours, and she's worked with everyone. So this one in particular is with the one and only Eminem, Marshall Mathers. So if you can imagine, I mean, I was so just young and green, and just this is a crazy experience for me. It was my first real tour that I went on, and so basically her company hired me to go and train Eminem and Limp Bizkit, Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit, and it was on their anger management tour, and it was when Eminem was just massive. He was peaking. It was right after, I think it was right after 8 Mile, the movie that he did. And when I say this tour was massive, it was unbelievable. And they flew me up there. I lived on the tour, one of the tour buses, and I'll just never forget. Also, Linkin Park was on that tour as well. And it was just some like really super cool things that I got to experience. Was like opening night and the first week or so of the tour. Every night was like the Grammys or something. There were so many celebrities just hanging out backstage, and so many huge backstage parties, kind of like you would imagine like a massive tour, what the parties would be like. I mean, it was just so incredible. And a really cool thing was, getting to watch all the performances. So it was Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit, and Eminem. And it was really cool because they had this big like VIP area with couches and everything set up around and behind the soundboard in the middle of the arena floor. And I would hang out with like the guys from Limp Bizkit and the guys from Linkin Park while Eminem was performing, and vice versa. Like, so the other acts would go and, come in and out and hang out in this VIP area in the middle of the arena. It was just an incredible experience. But the cool things that I learned from interacting with Eminem himself, right? Number one, and this is going to be a common theme through a lot of these people, that they just have great personalities. But as you'll learn in one of my subsequent videos, Fred Durst is the opposite of this. But Eminem was super, super kind, gracious, open. Like, you walk in the room and he just treats you like you're one of his buddies. And he was always traveling with an entourage. One thing that I just remembered that I thought was pretty incredible. When you're in these arenas, there are the huge picture like what you would think the backstage of an arena would look like. The huge, massive hallways that are curved, they go all the way around the arena. And when Eminem would walk through, his entourage would tell everybody. I mean, there's celebrities, there's the other bands, the other acts and everything. Everybody and for some reason it didn't bother me, but everybody has to get to the side of those big hallways when Eminem is coming through with his entourage. I thought that was pretty interesting. But then when you meet him one-on-one, when I met him one-on-one and started working with him and hanging out with him, he was super engaging, and he would just ask you questions. There would be like just this normal, easy, like hanging out with one of your friends. Another thing that was really cool. It was around the time that he and Dr. Dre were starting to work with 50 Cent, and I remember he was just telling me and a couple of other people that he was going through all these demos, and he came across 50 Cent's demo, and it just blew him away and all that stuff. So I thought that was really cool. But the main lesson that I learned was during a conversation where he was telling me that Eminem was telling me that a lot of the stuff that he does during his concerts. Oh, I just remembered a really cool story. Okay, so a lot of the stuff that he does during his concerts, back when he was performing, he would make all these drug references, even on like the video screens behind him, like ecstasy and all this stuff, all these drug references. And in one part of the show, he does this little thing where he goes back and forth with the audience, and he chugs a bottle of Jack Daniel's whiskey, right? So he was telling me that Dr. Dre taught him all these little things to add into his show, and they're complete crap. They're BS. He's just drinking iced tea, right? And it just reminds me of like the 80s bands, and now I wonder like the bands like Motley Crue and all those, like Poison and Bon Jovi that would drink on stage and stuff. And I know that Motley Crue used to always, do their little Jack Daniel's chug. Now I wonder if that was iced tea as well. And I remember I was at a David Lee Roth concert, and he did that same exact thing. I need to tell y'all my hanging out with David Lee Roth story as well. Hanging out with him backstage. Great story. So that'll be keep tuning in, because that's a really, really funny story. So anyway, where was I? Eminem. So all these things, all the drug references, all the alcohol references, all the chugging to the 30,000 people, chugging Jack Daniels and stuff. It's all for entertainment purposes. It's all BS. It's all made up, and he learned it all from Dr. Dre. So somebody during this conversation asked him, well, hey, do you ever smoke pot before you go on? So this was just a great thing to hear right from Eminem. I thought this was phenomenal. So he's like, absolutely not. He said, I can't remember my lyrics anyway without being high. So I thought that was fascinating. And then he was like, look, this one time we were doing a huge outdoor festival, and it started to rain. So I went back to the tour bus. I was just hanging out. I was kind of bored. It was like a 2 or 3 hour rain delay. Started drinking beer. Had too many beers. Finally, the sky opened back up. Well, not open, but it cleared up. And they come to the tour bus, and they're like, okay, you're on. Let's hit it. So he gets all ready. He's still buzzed. Goes to run up the stairs to like 40,000 people at this big outdoor concert. The big intro's going. He's running up the stairs, and he falls flat, slips on on one of the wet stairs, falls flat on his face in front of like 40,000 people. And he said, from that point on, I not only never smoke before I go on, but I never drink anything before I go on. And I remembered that story all these years later, and I made it a policy of mine for the past, I'd say, 9 years to never, ever, ever, ever do any intoxicating thing before I go on stage. So that's a really great lesson to learn from an iconic, massive artist like Eminem. For me personally, I I need to be stone cold sober so that I know that I'm in charge of all of my faculties, so I don't forget my lyrics, so I don't fall down on stage. I'm probably, I'm prone to doing stupid stuff when I'm totally sober, so I don't want to make it worse by drinking or smoking or anything, and taking the chance of doing even stupider stuff. So there you go. That's my story of getting to work with Eminem and going on tour with him. It was a pretty incredible experience, and I hope y'all learned something from it. But I know I had fun telling these stories. So here's the deal. Make sure that you subscribe to this podcast and hit the bell for the notification so that you know when I'm dropping a new video. Okay? I'll wait. Go ahead. Do it. Do it right now. I'm not kidding. I'm not joking one bit. I'll wait. Even for the podcast, the audio podcast, make sure you subscribe. Okay, you got it? Thank you. Also, make sure that you download the free guide to booking gigs the easy way, my gift to you, and that is at howtobookgigs.com. See you in the next one.